have a gift. You have power. And with great power, there must also come great responsibility.
That scene made millions of people cry. And it shouldn't have worked. We've seen this death before. We've seen it in 2002, we've seen it in the comics, we've seen it over and over again. Marvel has killed Peter's loved ones so many times at this point it's a punchline. So why does it even still affect us? Here's my answer, and I promise it's not the one that you think. This scene is not tragedy, it's maintenance. By the end of this video, you're going to see Spider-Man's 60-year history as one unfinished sentence. And you'll understand why the day that Peter Parker finally learns his lesson is the day that Spider-Man ends. Okay, to see what's hidden in plain sight, we need to start with something so familiar you've never actually looked at it. The origin story. Every major superhero origin falls into one or two categories. Category 1, trauma that happens to you. Bruce Wayne, 8 years old. He watches his parents die in an alley. I'm sure that caused a lot of trauma in his life. But I want you to notice something. Bruce didn't do anything. Everything happened to him. He was a victim in his origin. Category 2, values that you're raised into. Clark Kent doesn't necessarily have a tragedy as part of his origin. Superman's origin, honestly, is really just a good upbringing with a cape on. Trauma, values, victim or student, almost every hero you can name fits into one of those categories for their origin story. But then there's Peter Parker. Peter's origin is not just something that happened to him. It's not even about the spider bite or anything else. Peter's origin is something that he failed. He had the power, the thief ran right past him, and this radioactive superpowered teenager said, "Not my problem." And that choice, that's what killed Uncle Ben. So think about how insane that is, right? Batman is not going to relive his trauma in the alleyway. Superman, right, is not going to relive his upbringing in childhood. He's a grown man. But Peter Parker, his entire life, is going to be faced, am I going to either make the right choice or am I going to make choices like this again? But a choice, a moral test that you failed, that can happen pretty easily over and over and over again. And Marvel, they understand that. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you that every single Spider-Man story, Gwen, the Train, Superior Spider-Man, Miles, May, etc., is just the same exam, but just wearing a different face. Alright, so if my theory is right, Uncle Ben's not the origin, it's the exam. We've already established that. Then we should be able to find the exam by looking at different versions of Spider-Man. Exhibit A, Gwen Stacy, 1973. This is the comic that ended the Silver Age. Green Goblin throws Gwen off of a bridge and Peter catches her. Peter acts exactly like he's supposed to. He uses his power, but the snap of his own webbing kills her. I want you to understand what the writers just did. They knew the Uncle Ben exam asked the question, what happens when you don't act? Now you move forward and they're like, let's give the exam again. Gwen asked a crueler follow-up. What happens when you act and it's still not enough? Same test, harder questions. Exhibit B, Spider-Man 2. Peter quits! And everyone remembers this movie in a very positive light. You might know it for the pizza time memes. You might know it as your favorite superhero movie. But I want you to watch what happens here. Peter simply just quits being Spider-Man. We see a man with power choosing not to use it even though others are suffering. Sound familiar? It's just a thief running past him at the wrestling arena or convenience store all over again. I loved as a kid when I saw the comic panel for the first time of the suit in a trash can, and I was able to be like, oh my goodness, that's from Spider-Man 2! Sam Raimi, when he's directing this movie, is explaining very clearly, this isn't something new, this is simply just a retake. This is simply just the exam that we've seen before. Exhibit C, Superior Spider-Man. If you're not familiar with Superior Spider-Man, very quickly I'll explain it to you. Dr. Octopus completely controls Peter's body, and his goal is to become a better Spider-Man than he ever was, right? He wants to be more ruthless, he wants to be more efficient, and objectively become the best Spider-Man. With Dr. Octopus, things never worked out because it was missing the true qualifications of what made Spider-Man Spider-Man. And one of those big things that he needed was the guilt. The way that Peter carries himself as Spider-Man is so much motivated by his guilt and his decision to say, I don't want that to happen again. Even when he's faced with this test multiple times, this is used to build his character. However, it will never build him to a point where Marvel will stop giving him this test. Exhibit D, Into the Spider-Verse. I love this exhibit because it shows that this test is bigger than Peter Parker, that this is just a Spider-Man test. If you look at Miles, right? Miles inherits the Uncle Ben test before he even gets the mask. The movie will not let him become Spider-Man until he does this test and fails it, mind you. Miles has to sit there. He watches the Aryan Peter Parker die, and he does nothing. He's not ready. He freezes. Doesn't that sound familiar? Miles inherits the Uncle Ben test before he even gets the mask, before he becomes Spider-Man, before he becomes the hero. And he doesn't truly become Spider-Man until he faces it. That's what the leap of faith actually is. It's him understanding that I just failed this test, so now I'm going to be better because of it. 4 stories, 5 decades, different writers, different villains, different universes, 1 exam. So the question isn't, does the pattern exist? You just saw it. The question is why? Why does Marvel keep putting Peter Parker through this exact same test? Why don't they let him rest? Why do they have to keep seeing him suffer? The answer is quite structural. I'd love to explain it to you. There's a problem with every single serialized hero story. You need conflict. In fact, you need conflict that never runs out. Batman solved it externally. His war is on crime, and crime is infinite. Gotham will never be clean, so Batman never ends. His engine is outside of him for stories. Superman's conflict is the weight of restraint. Superman is a lowercase g god choosing to be gentle forever. His conflict is his entire life being careful with how he uses his power. But Peter Parker, his conflict is internal. It's a lesson. And here's the terrifying thing about lessons if you're a writer. Lessons can be learned. The day that Peter fully internalizes with great power comes great responsibility, really learns it bone deep, no more guilt, no more doubt, the engine is going to stop. There's no story left. Peter Parker becomes a well-adjusted guy who does the right thing every time. And that story is boring. Don't believe me? Marvel ran the experiment already. In these comics, Peter grows up. He gets married, MJ stops cheating on him, stable job, matured past his guilt, and the sales skyrocket. No, I'm kidding. The sales drifted. It was really bad. Spider-Man, the character, felt finished. The exam was over. So what did Marvel do? One more day, 2007. Peter makes a deal with the devil to erase his marriage. Now, Spider-Man fans have hated this story for a long time. But now, if we take a look at it through the lens of the Uncle Ben exam, we understand that it's not senseless, it's confession. Marvel is telling us, in probably the clumsiest way possible, that we can't let him finish his sentence. They didn't erase the marriage because they hate happiness. They erased it because a Peter Parker who passed the test is not Spider-Man. He's the only major hero whose lesson must stay almost learned. Permanently almost. Which means every editor, every writer, every director who touches Spider-Man inherits one secret job: protect the flaw. And no movie has ever done that job more openly than No Way Home. Think about where the MCU Spider-Man started. Tom Holland's Peter gets recruited by Tony Stark. Billion-dollar suit, a mentor. The Avengers on speed dial. For 2 whole movies, this Peter has something that no Peter has ever had: a safety net. This was the first Spider-Man adaptation to even do that. No origin, no exam. And honestly, because of it, the franchise felt off. Something didn't feel right. Charming movies, Tom Holland does an awesome job, but this Spider-Man was really missing his engine. So watch what No Way Home actually does. One by one, the movie strips the net. Tony, gone. Anonymity, gone. Future, gone. Then, the movie does something almost surgical. It brings in an Uncle Ben. No, not the Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben. Aunt May dies because of a choice that Peter made, choosing to help the villains. It's literally the thief running past Peter Parker all over again. And with her last breath, she says the line, "With great power comes great responsibility." You see the exam yet? I hope you do. 60 years after Amazing Fantasy number 15, the biggest movie in the franchise's history went all the way back and just gave Peter the same exam again, stripped him to nothing. And then the ending, the spell, everyone forgets Peter Parker. So I want you to understand, now we have a Peter with no Stark tech, no Avengers, no MJ, no Ned, no money. A hand-stitched suit in a tiny apartment completely alone. Fans called the ending very sad. I'm telling you honestly, it really is the opposite. This is the franchise choosing to restart. After 3 movies, the MCU finally had what it's been missing for a little bit. They finally have a Peter Parker with the flaw installed, the net gone, and the exam waiting. The most Spider-Man that he's ever been. The qualification for that is that he doesn't have anything. He doesn't have anyone. And that he has a hard life. With Batman, when I think of him, I think of a war on crime. With Superman, I think of a promise that things will get better. But with Spider-Man, Spider-Man really is a sentence, one that started in 1962 and has never been allowed to end. With great power comes great responsibility, and then 60 years of Peter Parker almost, just almost, earning the period at the end. Gwen, well, she's a clause. The train, a clause. Superior, Miles, May, clauses. Every loss you've ever cried out with anything Spider-Man ever was a sentence refusing to finish. You will never see Spider-Man lose something again and not think of the Uncle Ben exam. It just, you see it. It's clear as day. Is that me saying that Marvel never has any lazy writing or anything like that? No, sadly not, they do. But now you understand the Uncle Ben exam and you can see Spider-Man stories in a different light than you did before. What I love is that really it explains the real reason very well why the character of Spider-Man works in the first place. Peter's exam is our exam. Responsibility, it's not a lesson that you learn once and graduate from, it's one you choose, again, every single day. And to be honest, some days you fail, but you have to get up and you have to retake the exam. Spider-Man works because he's never finished, and neither are we. So, which version of the Uncle Ben exam hits you the hardest? Why does it resonate with you? What have you learned from the character of Spider-Man? Share it in the comments. You might encourage someone to help someone out, and I would love to read all of them. You're probably like one of 20 viewers, so like you should comment, say something, maybe even subscribe. I know I'm asking a lot. More videos like this are coming soon, but hey, please like, subscribe, stick around. I hope to see you again. I love you. Jesus loves you. Peace.